Welcome back, everybody. This is Bok Choy bringing you another video. This time on why it is important to not quit out of races if you run into any trouble early on during the race. Couple examples here for you today. This first one, obviously, starting off in Silverstone, British GP. So we qualify on pole by, I think it was close to a second or so. So going into the race already, I know that the competition is not going to be too crazy here. Hoping that we just get a decent start, don't get passed at the start-finish line here, and hopefully we can just lead out from the front. Again, this is probably the most nervous part of the race for me. So the lights come on, 3 bars of throttle at the bottom there. Lights out, and here we go. And it looks like it's a pretty good start. Proximity arrow is not really climbing up on our right-hand side or anything like that, and we've gotten ahead of the competition. And of course, the safety car comes out. I'm not really sure what happened, but you see 3 cars are just literally getting off the line right there. So coming to the pit lane here, I figured since it's only lap 1, I really probably don't need to pit, so I decide to not pit. And of course, as soon as I decide that, everybody behind me jumps into the pit lane, except for, I think, a couple guys in the back. So now I'm just hoping that the safety car doesn't stay out too long. But judging by the length of the pit lane here, this field is going to be pretty spread out, and we're probably going to be stuck behind the safety car for at least this lap and possibly another lap.
Approaching the safety car, you're leading,
so you can see not everybody pitted. There's 3 guys behind us that didn't pit, so I'm not the only fool that made the mistake of staying out. And obviously I can't pit now because the safety car is slowing us down a lot more than the cars that pitted will be accelerating. So they will catch up to us before we even get to the pit lane. But here we are. I decided to just stay out and hope for the best. And considering the 3 cars behind us were at the back of the grid at the start of the race, I figured I had a pretty good chance, especially since most of them are on medium tires anyway. I have 9 laps here to try and pull out, I don't know what it is, a 25-second gap. This is the longest pit lane on the calendar. So I'm hoping that the slow traffic behind me will keep the front runners that pitted on the first lap behind far enough that it will give me a gap to pit eventually at some point during the race. So now the magic number is 25 seconds. I need to make a gap of 25 seconds to P2 to at least be able to stay in the fight here. And somebody's on hard tires too for some reason. I don't know why. You don't need the hard tires. But anyway, I will take you through what was going on in my mind as the race progressed. So I figured my best chance is to pretty much stay on these soft tires for as long as possible, probably until the very last lap, and just hope that these guys make some sort of mistake and somehow miraculously give me a 25+ second gap to P2 that'll allow me to pit and still stay out in front. See, I don't want to pit too early and try to fight from the back because some of these guys are so slow, and even on a track like Silverstone where it's pretty much flat out in a lot of the track, it's still really hard to pass around these turns here. So my best chance right now is to try to just pull a gap and pit in front. And I think the math worked out to, I don't know, I think I needed like 2.5 seconds per lap to, 2.5 seconds for 10 laps will give me 25 seconds to P2. But we're already halfway through lap 5 here, and I've only got a 1.5 second gap to P2. So I'll fast forward a little bit to the end of the laps and let you know where my head was at. Oh no. Oh god, no.
We're boxing this lap. Give us the best in.
Oh, okay. What is going on? Oh, you foolish mother truckers.
Great work.
And that was pretty much it. So, it didn't really look like I'd be able to pull it off at about lap 7 or 8, but then all of a sudden, for some reason, the gap just started increasing like crazy. And then, I mean, I got a 5-second penalty there, but then everybody started getting 14, 13 seconds worth of penalties. Not really sure what was going on there. And as you can see, this is pretty much... Well, no, this is the second to last lap. But I figured, just in case I make some stupid mistake, my tires were starting to go off anyway.
Go.
Best to just jump in the pits now and change them out. I'm not really sure what happened to P2 and P3 and P4. I don't know why they started falling back so much. I'm assuming wing damage of some sort, but I lucked out a lot because they were pretty close there for the first couple of laps, but I'm assuming that just battling during the course of the race slowed them down or gave them enough damage to the point where they weren't really keeping up anymore. But anyway, as you can see, once we throw on the, I mean, even on the aging soft tires, we were still pulling ahead. So once we threw the fresh mediums on there, the gap just grew even wider. And this is the first example of why you shouldn't rage quit out of races, even if it looks like you're probably not going to win. I mean, I'm sure it helped that the skill gap between me and some of these drivers was pretty wide. We did qualify over a second quicker than P2, and like I think even 2 or 3 seconds quicker than the guys in like P4, P5. I'm pretty sure this was an unranked lobby. Sometimes I jump into unranked lobbies when I can't find a decent ranked lobby to race in. Being in North America and not being able to get on till kind of later in the evening, by the time I get on, there's not too many people willing to do ranked races. Well, it's hard enough to find people to do 25% races in the middle of the day, but at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night on the East Coast, it's really difficult to find people, even for the 5-lap ranked races online. So I normally have to resort to jumping into unranked for any decent sized lobby races. But anyway, we pull through, and I think ultimately we end up with like a 13 or 14 second gap at the end of this lap here, which is crazy that I was able to pull out like a 30-second gap in 9 laps. I guess not that crazy, it's unranked after all. But we pulled it off. I honestly thought that we had lost the race the moment I saw 8 guys jump into the pit lane on lap 1. But you just never know with the skill level in unranked lobbies. So we end up winning this race right here. So yeah, not an amazing race or anything like that, but that was kind of an epic comeback, regardless of the competition we were racing against. that I just love to watch. It sounds mean, but I love to watch some of the other drivers in the lobby after the race is over, just to kind of see what they do. Oh my. Okay, anyway, on to the next one. So here's a 25% race at Spa. Starting in P10 because I invalidated my qualifying lap. But judging by the times, I didn't have the times recorded, but I do remember thinking it was going to be pretty easy to overtake a lot of these guys at the time of the race. I remember seeing the times and just they weren't super impressive or anything like that. But they're still going to be in front of us, so it's still going to take a little bit of work to try and get in front of them. Hoping to get to turn one, through turn one without any issues. 5 lights. And away we go. Great start. And we get ran into. So as you can see from the rear view mirror there, there's carnage before we even leave our grid box. A VSC comes out, trying to go as slow as possible, and I still get ran into anyway. One of the joys of unranked lobbies here. I'm not sure if that was an attempt at revenge, but we get a 5-second penalty because some moron decided to drive into us. And now everybody's playing the dancing game where you're not allowed to pass somebody that just passed you illegally. I'm assuming that's what it was, or I don't know what else it could be. But we've made up a couple of spots here. Another spot there, because somebody went out wide. So we are up 4 spots without really having to do any work. And I'm not really sure if this guy was trying to block or if he was just really not that great at driving, because he's kind of all over the place here. So I just gun it. I put it into Rich and overtake and decided it's not worth the risk. I'm not going to stick behind him. And he goes off into the next turn courtesy of Mr. David Ronu there. Thank you, David. Thank you. But anyway, we picked up wing damage and then a full course safety car comes out. And I'm not really sure what to do at this point. The cars behind are really far behind, and the cars in front aren't too far in front. But they're coming up to the safety car right now, and I decide not to pit. I don't really know what I was thinking. I think maybe because I had the 5-second penalty there, I decided it might be better to keep track position. It's a long race. Surely nobody would pit. But then I realized everybody's probably got wing damage, so they're probably going to pit anyway just to fix their wings. And now I've realized I've made a mistake and that I probably should have pitted, because they'll be on our rear wing before we get to the finish line again, just like in Britain. But yeah, I'm not really sure why I didn't pit there. I was assuming that the safety car would only be out for this one lap because Spa is such a long track that the guys behind us, even if they pitted, they would catch up to us before we got to the next lap. So I didn't want to jump in the pit and risk the safety car going into the pit lane before I caught up to the pack. So I decided not to. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That's the only thing that makes sense to me anyway. So now we're up into P5, still in P5. This guy in front of us looks like he's tapped out of the race already. I'm not sure why. He's in P4. He's still pretty up there. Maybe just a connection issue or something like that. I'm trying to warm up the tires a bit. As you can see, they're ice cold right now. And I'm realizing that P2 and P3 keep, I'm not sure what they're doing, but P3 keeps ramming into the back of P2 there. It happens a couple of times. I'm sure people just aren't used to safety cars in online races. It's a little bit easier to control in Grand Prix mode or like career mode or something like that. But as you can see, somebody just rammed into the back of somebody. I get an illegal overtake. But the guy doesn't come up for some reason. I'm not sure why, so I figured screw it. I'll just take the 5-second penalty. I'm going to lose way more time anyway. And I'm about to jump into the pit lane. I decided to finally just jump into the pit lane here. Just get it taken care of, because obviously the safety car did not come in. And I'm going to be in the back of the pack anyway. But thank goodness this one of the 5-second penalties can be taken care of here in the pit lane, I think. So my 10-second penalty gets dropped to a 5-second penalty, which is good because we're still under safety car anyway, so I'll still be able to catch up to the back of the pack. I would have been in the back of the pack anyway because only 2 of the cars pitted behind me, and they were well behind me anyway, so I don't think I was ever going to lose any positions to them. So here we go. Wing is fixed, brand new tires, don't have to pit anymore, and I'm just banking on these guys battling enough to the point where I'll be able to catch up with them. And I'm pretty sure the top 2 guys still haven't pitted yet, so they're on soft tires that will have to be changed out in a couple of laps, and hopefully I can just get around the slow traffic quick enough and catch up to the first couple of guys, or get into a gap where even if they do pit, I'll still be able to overtake them while they're in the pit lane. So we caught up to the back of the pack pretty easily. Our buddy David Ronu, savior of the day, is in front of us, and I don't know why, but you can tell who the bad drivers are when you're under safety car. They're the ones that are constantly speeding up and slowing down and hitting the back of the cars in front of them, and I can pretty much already tell, other than the top 2 drivers, I'm gonna have to be really careful with passing these guys because they don't really look like the safest drivers on track. But the safety car is coming in right now. Tires are okay. I'd like to keep them at 86 degrees. At least try to keep them at 86 degrees Celsius. By the time the safety car goes into the pit lane, they're a little under temperature, but it's okay. We'll get a little bit of heat back in this final chicane here, if everybody would just get going. So here we go. Race is starting back up again. One guy's ghosted out, so he'll be pretty easy to overtake. I'm pretty sure everybody gets past him really quickly. Full battery there. 3 extra laps of fuel. Going in kind of narrow there to try and prevent snaps behind us from overtaking on the outside. He doesn't get by, so that's good. And everybody makes their way past this ghosted car. And it looks like you can already tell it looks like it's gonna be trouble going into this next corner here. So I back off. I hit the brakes really early, and apparently everybody else does too. Got a mixture of tires here, hard, medium, and soft. So it's gonna be kind of crazy going through here. People will be changing positions constantly. The leaders look like they have made a break for it. So we get by David Ronu and Scary Squid due to them battling. And now we're stuck behind this GABA guy again, who of course just acts like I'm not there. But then he goes wide, gets a terrible exit, and we get by him pretty easily. And as you can see, this guy, Acura in front of us, his light is blinking, which means he's really low or he's out of ERS. So I just decide to Well, at first I wanted to follow him, but he was going so slow, so then I decided to just turn on everything and try to get past him. Um, give him plenty of space on the inside. But of course he turns into me, like I'm not there. And considering what he just did in that last corner, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to make a sloppy attempt at overtaking here. So I just let him scoot right by. I don't even know if you can call that a switchback because he overshot it so badly. But now he's getting smaller and smaller in our mirror. So the only guys left now are the two guys in front, one of whom has 13 seconds worth of penalties, and they're only about 5 seconds ahead of me. So not too worried. Got to just make sure we stick with this Devil Monk guy in second place here, and stick close enough so that when he does jump into the pit lane to change out his tires, we'll be able to get ahead of him easily on the track. So we'll just skip ahead a little bit. I don't think I try to overtake these guys or anything. I just let them battle it out, and it looks like P4 is falling back pretty far already. We just passed him, and we're already over a second ahead of him. But it looks like the leaders will probably be coming in this lap or the next lap anyway, just because we're a little bit halfway through the race right now, and I would assume they'd want to get on a new fresh set of tires to give them the best possible chance to fight back. They'll be losing a lot of positions if they pit this lap. They're the only guys left that haven't pitted, and pitting right now will give them enough laps at the end of the race to possibly come back and fight for the win. But unlike in Britain, we decided to pit during the safety car, which really worked out well for us here. And there you go. And by that sound, you can tell that either one or both of them smashed into the wall before they got into the pit. I don't know why, but that sound makes me giggle on the inside. So we've just taken the lead of this race, and since I'm pretty sure it looks like everybody's made their pit stops already, so as long as I don't make any mistakes, we will have come through from P10 for the race victory here. And this David guy looks like he's starting to make a push. He passed Acura. He was behind him when I passed him. He was behind Acura when I passed David, so it looks like he's making a bit of a push, and he's on the softs too. So that is one thing I need to look out for. I'm pretty sure his ranking was the same as mine. I remember checking before the start of the race, and there was a couple guys who had the double gold rankings in this race, so I'm pretty sure he was one of them. So I'm hoping that he doesn't make a late charge here on his soft tires and catches me at the end of this race. He still does have 6 seconds, and I have a 5-second penalty, so I do have 1 second to play with. Double checking to make sure to check if he's pitted or not. So if you heard there, his tires are 3 laps old, so that means he's already pitted, and his last lap time was a 1:46 something, which means he's lapping faster than I am, and the gap's hovering at about 2 seconds, but it's dropped to below 2 seconds now. It's about 1.6. So I do start to get a little bit worried. But I'm sure any of you guys that have played this game know that for some reason sometimes the deltas like to screw up sometime and glitch out, and guys that are like 2 seconds behind you will show up as being in the pit lane for like 3 laps, or being like a lap behind for some reason. So I'm constantly watching the delta at the top left there, and seems like he's catching up in some sectors, and then he's dropping back in others. And he's on the softer tires, which are a little bit faster than my medium tires, so I am worried. But it's not like he's gaining too much time here, so as long as I can keep him out of DRS, I feel like I have a chance. And as you can see, my ERS is really low. right now, as I was trying to pull as far ahead as possible on the straights. I'm also hoping that his setup is really slow on the straights, and he's got higher wings, and maybe that's why he's catching up through the middle sector and kind of falling back towards the end of the third sector and the start of the first sector. But we pulled out a little bit of time there, even without any ERS, and we have plenty of fuel to play with here. So I can pretty much run on Rich till the end of the race, so long as I don't overheat the engine.
You're losing a small amount of time to the car behind. Keep pushing.
And I was within a second and a half, so he is gaining on me a little bit, maybe like a tenth or two every lap. And he's got the fastest lap too in the race, so it's a little bit worrisome. But again, he's not making any huge gains, so I'm not really sure what's going on right now. And everybody else is so far behind. I don't know if they've all pitted again or something. I wasn't paying attention to the mini-map, but now they're all 30 seconds behind. So the only threat here is really the guy that's behind us. But skipping ahead now to the end of lap 8, we pulled out a little bit of time now. We're 2.3 seconds ahead of P2, coming to the start of lap 9 here. And if you look down at the mini-map, for some reason he decides to pit. Maybe his softs were starting to go. That would have been lap 6 or so on those soft tires. So I'm not really sure why he decided to pit, but that was pretty much the end of the race there. Even with a brand new set of soft tires, there was no way he was going to be able to make up 20-25 seconds in 2.5 laps, as long as I didn't make any crazy mistakes. So yeah, that was it. So opposite to what we did in Silverstone, here we decided to pit under the safety car after all, and starting in P10 we made our way to P1 with a lot of help from the other drivers, who either knocked themselves out or knocked each other out of our way, and kind of made it easy for me to overtake. And now just skipping to the end of the race here, at the end of lap 11, trying my best to get the fastest lap, even though it doesn't really mean anything other than just a little bit of pride. But I still like to try and get the fastest lap in whatever race I'm in. So yeah, this is the second example of not quitting. Even though we got a couple penalties on the first lap, got some wing damage, and then having to pit, and then effectively going back to the back of the grid, and having to fight to the front again. And I always hate this sight at the end of the race, where you're going through the drivers and they're all ghosted out. So it looked like apart from like one guy, everybody quit at some point during the race, which is one of the downsides of the 25% races. But I still count it as victory anyway. So this is it for the second race. We'll head on to the third and final race. So the third and final race is kind of a 2-for-1 here. It's 2 races at Baku. It was a weekly race challenge before the first Suzuka McLaren. Well, not McLaren. The first classic car race at Suzuka. So it was about 2 weeks ago. I think I qualified in the top 50 in the overall chart. So for both races, I was on pole. In this first race, I just want you to pay attention to the rear view mirror. Not the jump start. Just... You'll see in a second. Start of the race. Lights come on. I'm nervous as all heck. Pay attention to the guy in 4th? No, not 4th. The guy in the green car. Vinny Foxy takes us out at turn 1. Anyway, as you can see, the rest of this lap is just carnage. So we'll skip ahead a little bit to the part that I wanted to show you. And this is pretty much it. The end of the race here. So we made it all the way back up to P4. And I'm like, alright, let me check to see where this guy that hit us ended up finishing. And look at that. At the bottom of the grayed out section. The guy didn't even finish. Come on now. If you're going to knock somebody out in the first turn, at least have the decency to be good enough to finish the race, man. You just ruined my race for nothing, buddy. Anyway, I apologize for that outburst. I hope we can move on as individuals and be better people because of it. Alright, so enough with my outburst there, which again I apologize for. So we ended up having to do a second race because I wasn't really satisfied with the conclusion of our first one. And we get off to this race much cleaner. And that was pretty much about all the excitement you'll see in the race. Everybody started on mediums. I started on softs, banking on the fact that I would hopefully be quick enough to pull out a gap that would be too big for them to really close at the end of the race. I was hoping that... Okay, I was just really confident in my pace. That I could start on the softs and on the mediums and still be able to beat them. But again, that was the most exciting part of the race, was the start there. So now we'll skip ahead to lap 7. I have about a second lead on this BRU guy who was driving really well. He was in the first race also, and I think he might have quit before the end of the race, but even during the race, he was driving a lot faster than me. So here we are, changing on to the mediums. I'm hoping that 7 seconds will be enough, and the fact that I get onto the mediums and have an extra lap on fresh tires before he swaps off will give me enough of a lead. So now we'll skip to the end of this lap. And BRU here, I'm going to call him BRU because there's a radio station near me that's WBRU, and they just, I don't know, it could be Brew, but I'm just so used to calling it BRU. He jumps into the pit, and we do still get out in front of him, and I think it looks like we're going to pull out a little bit of extra time too. We went into the pits a little over 7 seconds in front. And now he's exiting the pits 9 seconds behind. 4 laps left. As long as I don't lose 2.25 seconds per lap, I should be able to stay in front. And because I already told you that there's really not much excitement to this race, you probably have already concluded that I win this race. And if you came to that conclusion, you are right. So BRU only managed to pull 2 seconds of that gap back. So we ultimately finish about 7 seconds in front. But yeah, he drove really well. I think he was the only guy all night that had me worried. Just because I don't really know the differences in lap times from tire to tire, so I thought that there could be a chance that he would be able to fight back and take the lead, but we hold him off towards the end and ultimately win the race. So the lesson for you guys today is stick with the race. Even if you run into some trouble in the first couple of laps, I think you're going to lose it anyway. There's no harm in finishing the race. I mean, if you rage quit in ranked, you lose points anyway, so just stick to it. Stick with it till the end. But thank you guys for sticking with me for this video. If you think I've earned it, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and I will see you all next time. If you have any ideas for videos, please leave it in the comments section. I will try my best to meet your requests. Thank you guys. Eat your bok choy.